Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Sha Shanti. Now we are in we share the text. You can see where we are. We are in verse number 9. So we have finished all the qualifications. Nigamacharya Vakyeshu Bhaktihi Shraddha iti Vishruta Chitta Ekagryam tu Sallakshye Samadhanam iti Smritam. So this is the thing. Slowly, in verse number 8, under the category of Shraddha, the teacher is introduced, Acharya. This is important. So slowly it has kind of the teacher has been shooed in here without anybody noticing. But it talks about the centrality of the teacher in the gain of this knowledge. That this knowledge cannot be gained without the teacher is being mentioned here because the Shraddha, which we talked about last time, is directed towards the words of the Shastra. And since the words of the Shastra do not come on their own or they are not talked about by themselves, then the words of the Shastra are basically dependent upon the teacher. So the teacher is important here. The importance of the teacher is kind of slowly, without anybody noticing, put over here. Very interesting. Okay, very, very interesting. Put over here. So Nigamacharya Vakyeshu Bhaktihi Shraddha iti Vishruta. Vishruta means it is famous. It is heard. It is well known. And what is well known and what is famous? That Shraddha is something. We've discussed Shraddha. So Shraddha is something. What is Shraddha? Shraddha is bhakti. Bhakti towards what? Bhakti towards Bhagavan? Not really. Bhakti that is directed. A devotional, reverential attitude towards the teacher, towards the words of the teacher, and towards the words of the Shastra. Nigama is Veda. Towards the Shastra and towards the words of the teacher and towards the Shastra. The Shastra, even if it is studied by oneself, let us say one is a, what is that word? Prodigy, child prodigy. Mozart composed his first thing even before he could speak. When he was 9 months old, he was just using the piano to balance himself, and then he played something that made sense. Not like a cat walking on the piano, not like that. He played something that made sense. He was only 9, 10 months old. Before he could speak, he was composing. How? Some Purva Punya thing. And that same Purva Punya, the Punya from previous life, can also be there for this as well. Meaning, either one has to gain the qualifications in this life, or one has already gained them in the previous lives. And so, in this life, one seems to be ahead of the rest of the pack. What is the pack here? Not wolves, Vedanta students. Okay. Yeah, so here somebody is struggling from with the basic Paninian Sutra. Iko Yanachi, there is one sutra. Okay. So one is struggling with that. Whereas another person maybe in the same class is already ahead, whether in Sanskrit grammar or in Vedanta or anything, or in even some other skills that one has, branches of knowledge, Aparavidya, other branches of knowledge than Brahma Vidya. And what are they? Like cooking and piano, music, cooking, maths, all these things. Very, 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 very possible. And then the mind, of course, the human mind goes to the prodigy. If he can be like this, if she can be like this, why not me? Why I have to do everything this way? And so it is very popular, an argument. And what is the argument? Ramana Maharshi gained knowledge, had no teacher, just went and sat in a cave and gained knowledge. Who says he didn't have teacher? But this is the popular myth. Mirabai gained knowledge without a teacher. Mirabai did not gain knowledge without the teacher. In fact, all her songs and poetry is all about Guru. Hori lagi lagana Guru charana naki. She talks about Guru all the time. So does Kabir Das, so do all these people who, in the popular imagination, they just woke up one day and then already had the knowledge. Now you are telling me that you have to study Vedanta day after day, class after class. How come these people did not even have a guru, or if they barely had a guru, we don't see them, having shraddha, we don't see them cultivating bhakti, we don't see them doing all these things. We just see them suddenly gaining knowledge, suddenly becoming very important teachers and everything in the tradition. But really speaking, they all had teachers. They all had teachers. The reason why we feel that they did not have teachers is because they were, because the life with the teacher is not extended. Through a short period of apprenticeship, through a short period of study, they appear to have gained the knowledge. So this kind of a thing, this is more of an exception than the rule. In our imagination, we want to focus on the exception rather than the rule. The exception does not really dismiss the rule. In fact, every rule has an exception. That is the rule. It only serves to certify the rule. It does not dismiss the rule. And so here, Acharya Vakyeshu Bhakti. And that bhakti, the cultivation of a kind of a reverence, devotion towards the words of the teacher and the words of the Shastra. And you see, till now there was no mention of teacher, suddenly teacher in verse number 8. Very interesting. And so that means what? How can I develop bhakti without there being a teacher? So first, that means the teacher has to be existent. That means I have to choose the teacher. Teacher is not going to choose me. Why? Because teacher has better things to do. Teacher is not going to choose the student, whether you look in any tradition, whether you look in the Hindu tradition, Buddhist tradition, Jain tradition, wherever there is Guru Shishya Parampara, Sufi tradition, anywhere. It's not that the teacher comes and stands on the street corner and says, "Come to me, come to me, come to me." If anybody does that, don't go. Okay, that is not that's wrong. That's not the way it should go. And so the student approaches the teacher because of what is said in verse number 9. Let us look at that. Samsara bandha nirmuktihi katham syanme daya nidhe itiya sudridha buddhihi vaktavya mumukshuta. The final qualification here is mumuksha, mumukshuta. The desire to be free of what? People don't know what is samsara. Samsara means, oh, family life. They think it's family life. In fact, in Tamil, samsara means wife and children. They are known as samsara. Very interesting. So that's not samsara according to Vedanta. That's vernacular languages. They have, they have taken one portion of it. They think that, oh, having a spouse, having a house, having children, dog, cat, etc., that itself is samsara. That's not samsara. If you are an enlightened person, you can have so many things, and then you are not possessed by them, neither do you possess them. So that is not samsara. Then, then what is samsara? Then samsara is okay. The difficulties in life, that I have to go to a job every day, that is samsara. That is also not samsara. You do what you have to do. Why should it be called samsara? That there is an objective. If you look at the job objectively, it's not samsara. It is a role that you play. Neither are the relationships samsara. Those are again roles that you play. Say son, daughter, brother, sister, wife, husband, and then child. All these are roles. These are all roles. Employer, employee. Then that is not samsara either. Then what is this samsara? Why do I have the feeling that I'm bound by all these relationships and all the things I have to do? Aha, that is samsara. The feeling of bondage is samsara. Bondage is not real. Bondage is a notion. So even if we keep on talking poetically about the ocean of samsara, what we are trying to understand that it is but a notion of samsara. When the ocean is reduced to but a notion, that is what we are calling samsara. There is no samsara. What samsara? Where samsara? Show me samsara. Show me the money. There is expression. So show me the samsara. Where is samsara? It's in your own head. It's right here in the temples between your own in your own head. What samsara? Where samsara? Samsara means some sorrow or the other, based on a wrong understanding of life, of relationships, of everything. Totally wrong understanding. That these are the sources of bondage, that is samsara. That is the wrong thing. So, samsara bandha vinirmuktihi. So, it's not that you have to leave all the things. There is nothing, because they are not the cause of bondage. Your relationship to the things are the cause of bondage. Your feeling that you are bound is the cause of bondage. But why do I feel bound? Because one wants things. That's why there is bondage. In fact, the notion of bondage can be directly traced to a sense of want. So that wanting is a notion of bondage. The notion of bondage is nurtured by that understanding, the misunderstanding rather, that I am a wanting person. That is the notion of bondage. I am a wanting person is the notion of bondage. Nothing else. And that is a notion. Because really speaking, when you are happy, are you wanting anything? No. That's why, there is one children's song. If you are happy and if you know it, then you have to do a few things, clap your hands or do something like that. And that's how it is. If you know that you are happy, and there are even the most miserable person, even with the most, all the burdens on the head and the worst prarabdha karma possible, even the world's most miserable person, according to Guinness Book of Records, even that person has some joy at some point. has some joy. And so, in that moment of joy or moments of joy, there is no wantingness, there is nothing to want. In fact, the joy comes from a sense of I'm free, I don't want anything. That is the joy. That is the joy. Even though we think the joy is produced by me wanting something and me getting what I want, that is the joy. That is not really that is not really the joy I'm seeking. Yes, some joy is there in experiencing the objects of delight and objects of want. But that joy is finite. I want the infinite. Because if you ask the person who is eating their favorite dish, what do you want? I want to feel like this all the time. But I can't because the stomach finite. And then what? Digestion power finite, Jatharagni finite, stomach finite. At least if one was a cow, there would be 4 stomachs, but no. Bhagavan has given only 1 stomach to the human being. That is also finite. And so after the dish finishes, then what? Then again one is in the doldrums because one wants that to be infinite. The same joy is experienced in sleep. When in Vedanta class, one gets the best sleep. In Vedanta class, one nods off. Either one nods off thinking, I have been here before, I have studied this, I don't need this anymore. Yeah, they're discussing samsara. I can write a PhD thesis on samsara. Ha. You drift off because you feel like you've heard this before. Or you drift off because it's very interesting. One drifts off either because one has heard it before and one feels one knows, or one drifts off because one is not connected to that, one is unable to connect to it and one drifts off. In either case, you get a lovely, delicious sleep. And the closing prayer, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam, becomes Suprabhatam, becomes a wake-up call. Like in the temples, when you wake up the deities, and then you say, oh, I slept so well. I didn't even know. Oh, that the class was over? No, I didn't even know that. But most of all, I didn't even know that I was miserable. I forgot that I was miserable. How can you forget you're miserable? If you're really miserable, you never forget. The fact that in sleep there is no misery itself calls for giving Aparokshanubhuti a chance. You have to give the text a chance to prove itself. It is, after all, a means of knowledge. It has to prove itself. That's why there are 140 plus verses. The text is not in a hurry to prove itself because it has a methodology, it has a purpose, it has a way of doing this. So then what? So that's why the vyabhichara, the contradiction between the happy moments in and out of sleep, and then the misery the other times shows, the contradiction shows that there is some gadbad here. Gadbad means there is some problem here. Everything is not as real as it seems. Which is more real, the happy me or the unhappy me? Naturally, the happy me. Why? Because that's what I want to be. That's why it is real. That's why it is real, because every single activity in my life is to bring about the happy me. There's nothing else that I want in life. That's why perhaps it is time to give the text a chance, a text that says that you are already what you want to be. Therefore, it has to be discovered. Like the eclipse. Eclipse means the brightness of The sun is eclipsed by Rahu. Who is Rahu? That is ignorance, self-ignorance, morphed into a series of wants. I want, I want, I want, I want, I want. Want. Series of wants, series of don't wants are the prasada of self-ignorance. What a prasada, really. And that is why this samsara becomes a sense of bondage with regard to relationships and possessions in one's life. But then why is it a sense of bondage directed towards relationship, people and objects in one's life? Because one has collected all of them thinking that they will make me happy. And then that's why everybody gets married. And after marriage, one finds out, oh no, this is what? Limited plus limited. Or then what is that? What is limited plus limited? Doubly limited, private limited. That's what it is. Limitations don't go. Even though what is that? Film songs, we have film songs, we have all these things. You complete me. No one completes. No one completes anybody because one is already complete. Complete plus complete is already, it's infinite. And that the one who is complete does not need anyone to complete. And that's the complete knowledge. So then why did I get married? You tell me, why should I answer all the questions? So that's what happens. And so really the institutions and relationships in one's life which have already been acquired from in the state of self-ignorance can be purified and used as stepping stones in the pursuit of knowledge. That is how to redeem oneself from samsara. It's not that the relationships are binding. Relationships appear to be binding because I did not get what I wanted from them. The hope was that the significant other would fill all the gaps in my life. Poor significant other. What a burden to have for this person. Poor significant other. How can this significant other fill everything in your life? Why not? Because the significant other also is hoping that you will fill everything in his life or her life. Then you feel burdened, don't you? Exactly. So it's a burden both ways. That's why the wrong idea in which these relationships, with which these relationships were entered into, that is what is the cause of what is called samsara. It's not the relationships themselves. If you get to the point of appreciating people for whoever they are, however they are, by giving them the freedom to be who they are, you can enjoy them. No problem. That's why samsara, the word is used to refer to only the near and dear close ones. Samsara is not referred to for strangers. The word samsara is not referred to for strangers. So, for example, and if you just go and think about a group of people, or you're walking somewhere and there is groups of people, like at a train station, you're getting ready to board the plane or the train, there is obviously a group of people at the station, at the airport. But with regard to these groups of people, you don't have a feeling of bondage. You don't. They are going about their lives. You are going about your life. And then you see you're sitting there waiting for your bus or train or plane. A little toddler, little child is just coming and going and playing around because the child is restless. It cannot sit in one place. So it walks around and the mother or the father is behind it. It comes to you It just smiles. You are able to smile. You're able to pet the child. You're able to enjoy the child. And then, the parent of that child takes it away. Then again it comes, it plays, and you are able to enjoy it freely. Whereas your own child, you immediately think, oh, I have to make it better than all the other children. I have to discipline it. I have to tell it what to do. I have to tell it what not to do. You're not able to enjoy your own child as much as you enjoy the child of another. That's why people enjoy being grandparents rather than parents. That's the idea. So then there is this is there is the sense of wantingness, only focused on the so-called near and dear ones. With regard to strangers, there is no sense of uh, hatred or anything, unless one is a serial killer and mass murderer, whatever. Unfortunately, that's because of some mental problems or some indoctrination. Just suddenly they go into a school, I don't know why, but then they open the fire on young children. They suddenly go into a mall and open fire on unsuspecting bystanders. Simply people who are going about their day and shopping. And here they thought they will have a good time, and then they will shop in the mall and go eat something and come back. But then that never happens. Instead, they have to run for their lives if they survive the shooting. So, barring that, generally speaking, if you see somebody in a shopping complex, you don't have any animosity towards them. You don't have that. That itself shows that there is some difference between the people from whom I expect things and between the people from whom I do not expect anything at all. And so the point is that the samsara is that notion of bondage and disappointment with regard to the people and possessions in my life, because they were unable to deliver my raga and dvesha. They were unable to deliver my own likes and dislikes, my preferences, my prejudices, and they were unable to fulfill the expectation. That is what is called samsara. This, if it is understood properly, so freedom from samsara is freedom from the notion that I am bound to these people. Because it's not so easy. Okay, the people are not fulfilling your expectation. Get out of the relationship. No, I'm hoping that they will fulfill. How can I get out? Like this, there is a sense of bondage. That is what is being talked about here. And then the student asks these kinds of questions from the teacher. And let us look at the verse again now. And what are the questions the student asks? Let us see. So the student says, Samsara bandha nirmuktihi. When will I be freed from this samsara? Katham syat. How will I be freed from samsara? When will I be freed from samsara? All these people who keep on disappointing me, all these people I trust and who betray my trust, all these people I want in my life, but only one problem, they don't want to be in my life. I want them to be in my life, but they not so much. And all these people that I want to influence, and then I want to have a say over, and they don't really care. How will I be free of them? Can't have them in my life, can't leave them in my life. What to do with them? How to purify myself to understand this when I have this whole basket full of wants? How to purify myself? And then samsara bandha. So how can I purify the relationships so that every relationship that I have is free of samsara? free of that notion of bondage. How can I do this? How can I leave people to be who they are without wanting something from them in return? Samsara bandha, this notion of bondage. How can I be free? Nirmuktihi katham syat me. For me, for me is important because it's not like a mass samsara freedom. It's not like if one person gets freedom from samsara, everyone else gets freedom from samsara. No, no. Okay. So then what? So samsara bandha nirmuktihi katham syat me. So when will there be freedom from samsara for me? How will I get this freedom? He daya nidhe. Oh, you who is the veritable treasury of compassion, the kosha of compassion. Here, kosha is not the what is that? Is not locus of error. Those who are studying Taittiriya. This is kosha, the treasury. So you who is the kosha of compassion, the treasury of compassion, daya nidhi. Nidhi means treasure. So you who is raining compassion. That is the teacher. The teacher is nothing but compassion. Why is the teacher only compassion? The teacher is compassion because the teacher need not teach. The teacher can say, so long, fellows, I'm out of here. I gained this knowledge. See ya. Then the teacher can go. Teacher need not stop and listen to the sob stories of everyone and say, okay, you want to be taught, all right, I'll teach. Okay, you don't have Shama, all right, cultivate it as you are studying and all these things. Teacher need not teach. But the fact that the teacher is ready to teach here and is only due to compassion because as we know, this knowledge being priceless, there is not a price put upon it. You don't charge anything for it. And then there is no charge there. And people can freely come and drink of the nectar of the Vidya. And so therefore what? So how will this happen without the teacher? That is something to be understood, that this absolutely cannot take place without the teacher. So itiya sudridha buddhihi, this desire. Sudridha buddhihi means sudridha ichha. Buddhi means outlook, thinking. This kind of a well ascertained enquiry that without the teacher this knowledge cannot take place. And then I really want to be free. I really want to be free. That kind of a longing is what is called mumuksha. And this longing, happens from various in various stages. Generally speaking, I mean, not that everybody has to go through the stages, but the longing is there. First, it is like a small flickering mumuksha. Kabhi kabhi moksha ichha. Once in a while, I get the idea, oh, this would be nice. Let me see what's going on. Let me see what is being taught. Let me see what's happening. I just dip my toe into the Shastra pond. And I'm pondering about the Shastra. That's what it means. I'm dipping my toe into the Shastra pond and wondering, okay, what will happen? Are there alligators here? Or are they just lotuses blooming? A lotus of Mahavakya blooming. What is there? What is here for me? That is the rumination. That is the wondering. That is what is called manda mumuksha. Manda mumuksha means once in a while I think about it when life is not going well, and other times I just go about my life And once in a while, when difficulties hit, then Vedanta is resorted to. This is just the general mumuksha. Then the understanding comes. The next stage of this is that with the help of the knowledge, the understanding comes that there is the inextricable connection between mumuksha and atmajnana. Atmajnanam alone can give moksha. Iti ya sudridha buddhi. That is the second stage of mumuksha. Moksha ichha. Why is it the second stage? Because in the beginning, well, everybody is a mumuksha. Everyone is a seeker of freedom. Everybody is wanting to be free of samsara, about which they have some doubts. What this samsara is not understood properly. That it is a notion is unknown, but everybody wants freedom. That is an exception. Then what is unique about the mumukshu that is described in the Vedanta Shastra is that that person has already gone to the next stage and connected the freedom from the notion of bondage to Atmajnana, self-inquiry and Atmajnana. The person has now gained a maturity that not many people have. And the maturity that, what is the mature thinking? The emotional maturity that I cannot gain this other than through knowledge. Because think about the problem. The problem is not that one is in search of the infinite. The problem is that one is already infinite, but one has to understand it, one has to know it. That is the problem. Problem is that it's not that one is not infinite and one has to become infinite. In fact, it is this life of endless becoming is what is samsara. There is no becoming here. The thought of becoming is unbecoming. That is samsara. And so therefore what? So therefore I have to look at my life and see that it's not that I have to become anything. I have to know. And because I am already what I seek, what I want to be, I already am. And since I already am what I want to be, then what? Then there is nothing to pursue, nothing to want, nothing to be. This I have to know. And for that, I have to sniff into the pages of the Shastra like a dog looking for a bone or a treat or something. It knows it's right there, but it cannot find the treat. And it sniffs around, sniffs around. This is the second stage of moksha. Knowing that without self-inquiry and without gaining Atma-jnanam, then there is no freedom at all. This is moksha. Second stage. Second stage of self-inquiry, second stage of emotional maturity, which leads to this self-inquiry. Is there a third stage? You bet. What is the third stage? The third stage is knowing that it's not enough to have desire Atmajnanam. It is to recognize that this Atmajnanam cannot happen without the teacher. That is the third stage. Acharya Ichha. First stage, Moksha Ichha. Second stage, Jnana Ichha. Third stage, Acharya Ichha. Ichha means desire. So first stage is just desiring freedom. Moksha. Freedom from all these annoying people in my life who don't give me what I want. Starting with the parents. And then freedom from all that. That is Moksha Ichha. It is very Shubha, it is very auspicious, it's wonderful. But what are you going to do about this? Oh, I'm going to change my house. No, wrong answer. Because changing your house, you're not going to get anything. other than a different house. Why? Because it's not, the problem is not with the house. Okay, I'll change the spouse. The problem is not with the spouse either. Not with the house, not with the spouse. And then, so where is the problem? The problem is centered on the wrong understanding of the I. The problem is centered on the I. It's not centered on the things that need to be shifted, like a house that needs to be shifted, a spouse that needs to be changed, a child that needs to be given up for adoption immediately because I cannot handle it. All these things. It's not based on that. That is the next level of maturity, the next level of understanding. And so, therefore, there is a contradiction here. If I'm already free and already whole, and this is what the Shastra says, I better understand this because I don't know. That's the contradiction. I'm supposed to be embodiment of happiness, yet I go about my day miserably. I'm supposed to be already free, yet I go about my day feeling bound. I'm supposed to be free of fear, yet I go about my day feeling afraid all the time. This is the contradiction. And so, since the feeling is not in keeping with the reality of what this Shastra espouses, I better get familiar with the Shastra. This is the second stage, Jnana Ichha. Second stage of what? Mumuksha. Moksha Ichha takes on 3 stages. First is just a general desire to be free of all notions of feeling bound. Then the second stage is connecting that sense of bondage and connecting that desire for freedom to the words of the Shastra, which says, you are already free, you just have to know it. So then the solution becomes Atma Jnanam. Second stage of into Mumuksha. Then, so therefore, if Atma Jnanam is the solution, what should I do? I should study the Upanishad. Thankfully, there are so many translations, so I just pick up one translation and read. Wrong. Again, wrong. Because reading only gives you a headache. You can, especially Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, if you start to read, no problem. Just keep a big glass of water and a couple of Tylenol and then start reading. Okay, because headache is definitely it's going to come. Atma Jnanam will not come in the head. What will come is a headache if you start reading. Why? Because it's not supposed to be read. It's supposed to be expounded. It's not supposed to be read. It is supposed to be fed to you by the teacher. That is what it is. And so knowing this, there's no point in reading, because reading just gives me a headache. And then reading is also confusing. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. This is known through the mind, says the Kathopanishad. And then you say, okay, I have made the notes. And then you go to Kenopanishad. Yan manasa na manute. Yena ahur manomatam. Tadeva brahma tam tad vidhi. Nedam yadidam upasate. And there it says, that which is never an object of the mind. Oh my God. Here it says, know it through the mind. Here it says, you can never know it through the mind. Which is correct? Oh, there is a contradiction. There is no contradiction to it. The mind is needed for the knowledge. The mind is a receptacle, a bright receptacle of that conscious being, blessed with that consciousness, blessed with self-inquiry, blessed with the ability to receive this knowledge. Mind is a receptacle for the knowledge. The mind is not an agent of the knowledge. All this you have to know. How are you going to know this? Without help. I need help. I need an acharya. I need to surrender this ignorance at the feet of the Guru and ask to be taught. That is the final stage of mumuksha. Jnana ichha, then acharya ichha, moksha ichha, jnana ichha, and then finally acharya ichha. Very, very important, this threefold the growth. And that has to happen. Without that, one will just be dropping out of the classes. Slowly, incrementally, one grows. And then one understands the connection between my sense of bondage and my own self-ignorance. And that since it is self-ignorance that is the cause of bondage, the self-ignorance has to be removed. And then the self-ignorance being removed is through the Shastra, which is self-inquiry, which is the words of the primary text called the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, etc. So then my attitude towards that already undergoes a change, and then I understand that I cannot understand on my own, so I succumb to letting go of my resistance for the need of a teacher in my life. So I go to the teacher, ask for the knowledge. This is the third stage. So then the converting of the mumukshu into a seeker of the knowledge is what is being talked about here. From mumukshu to jignasu. Jignasu means seeker of knowledge. Okay, then what happens? Then itiyasudra. This is mumukshita. Then verse number 10. This is very short, easy. It's just a little segue verse. उक्तसाधनयुक्तेन विचारः पुरुषेण हि कर्तव्यो ज्ञानसिद्ध्यर्थम् आत्मनः शुभमिच्छता उक्तसाधनयुक्तेन विचारः पुरुषेण हि कर्तव्यो ज्ञानसिद्ध्यर्थम् आत्मनः शुभमिच्छता. तो उक्त साधन युक्तेन पुरुषेण विचारः कर्तव्यः. विचारः कर्तव्यः. These two words are in apposition. विचारः कर्तव्यः. The enquiry has to be made. Passive voice construction, passive sentence. So, vicharaha kartavyah, the enquiry must be done. By who? Purushena, by this person, he. Indeed, by this person. Indeed, by this person. What kind of a person? Ukta sadhana yuktena purushena. These two words are in apposition. Ukta sadhana yuktena purushena. By the person who is yukta, endowed with what? Ukta sadhana sampannena, by the sadhanas that have been outlined. Where? Above. The above and equipped with the above mentioned sadhanas. Equipped with the above mentioned sadhanas, by that person who is equipped with the above mentioned sadhanas, what should be done? Enquiry has to be done. Vicharaha kartavyaha. This tavya here, this particular suffix has the force of an injunction. Because having gained these different stages of moksha ichha, what are you going to do? You have to study. There is no other option. And so, kartavyaha must be done. There is an imminent kind of a urgency here. For what? Atmajnana siddhyartham. Atmanaha jnana siddhyartham. Atmajnana siddhyartham. So, Atmanaha of the self. Jnana siddhyartham. So, siddhi means the accomplishment. Artha for the sake of the accomplishment of the self-knowledge, this kind of an inquiry has to be done by the person who is well endowed with all these qualifications and values and attitudes outlined earlier, which was already mentioned. Ukta means already discussed, that which was already discussed. Shubham Shubham means what is the motive here? The motive for this inquiry is, so why do I need jnanam? Why do I need Atma Jnanam? Because I have Shubha Ichha. I have that auspicious desire to be free of samsara, free of the notion of bondage. This is what I want to be free of. And so therefore, I set this inquiry into motion. This self-inquiry I set into motion because I have gained the qualifications. And see, now there is a direct connection between the qualifications and this Atma Jnana. Without the qualifications, the Ichha for the Jnanam also does not come. Antahkarana Shuddhi, all this is very important. And so then this, by that person who has gained the qualifications, may the inquiry be done for the sake of freedom from self-ignorance, inquiry into accomplishing the knowledge of the self. And why? Because one has the desire for self-knowledge, and that desire is a Shubha Ichha. That's the only desire. This is the main message here. This is the only desire. No other desire is there. All other desires are little spin-offs of this desire. When the desire for Atma Jnanam is not recognized, then it spins off into the desire for this, that, or the other, because one does not recognize what really the desire is about. In other words, the desire for objects is the symptom for the desire for the subject. And we mistake the symptom to be the, to be the disease. And then we just try to patchwork the symptoms. It's not curing the disease. It's only taking care of the symptoms. All the modern diseases are like that. There's nothing you can do. You can just alleviate the symptoms. So this is what is important to know. And then verse number 11 makes it very, very clear. Notpadyate vina jnanam vicharenanya sadhanaihi. Notpadyate vina jnanam vicharenanya sadhanaihi. Yatha padartha bhanam hi prakashena vina kvachit. Yatha padartha bhanam hi prakashena vina kvachit. Very interesting. No, na utpadyate. Okay. So it becomes not padyate. Very interesting. You get the word not here. So you have a little synergy between Sanskrit and English. Not padyate, does not arise. Does not arise. Na utpadyate, does not arise. Does not arise. What does not arise? Jnana. What kind of jnanam? Atma Jnana. Self-knowledge does not arise. Vina, without. Self-knowledge does not arise without what? Vicharena. Without, see the word vina, the indeclinable vina, without takes sometimes the third case, sometimes the fifth case, sometimes even the second case. So here it's the third case usage. So vicharena vina jnanam not padyate, na utpadyate. knowledge does not arise. One is not blessed by knowledge without this kind of an inquiry that has been talked about in verses number 9, 10, etc. 8, 9, and 10. Go back to this kind. Samsara bandha vinir muktihi katham syat may, all these kinds of things. Without that, without this self-knowledge, without exposure to Acharya, Upanishad, etc., this knowledge cannot take place at all. And then it's not just enough to have Acharya, it's not just enough to have book. Then what do you need? Anya sadhana. All the other sadhanas that were talked about. Sadhana means practices. Practices means the various values, attitudes, and meditation, doing whatever one needs to have a calm mind, etc., etc. That is what is very important. So without these auxiliary practices, and the primary practice here is Atmajnanam, the pursuit of the self-knowledge. And then without these practices, what happens? The Jnanam na utpadyate. Self-knowledge is not born. And he gives a illustration. What is the illustration? Yatha, just as padartha bhanam hi prakashena vina kvachit, and then we have to repeat this here. Na utpadyate. This no utpadyate goes for first line and second line. We have to borrow that and bring it down. So yatha, just as padartha bhanam. Padartha means objects. Very interesting. The word padartha means, pada means word and artha means meaning. So the word object is described here as the meaning of a word. So beautiful. Object means meaning of a word. A word and its meaning together is called object. So yatha, just as padartha bhanam, the coming to light of an object. How does the object come to light? I have given away the clue here. Without a source of light, you cannot, the object does not come to light. That's what you mean by object coming to light. So how is the object objectified? You need a source of light. Even the eyes, you say, okay, my eyes, I spy with my little eyes, this ghata, this spot. But then there is the question of light, which has traveled to the eyes, which have traveled to the ghata, all these things. So if the ghata is not illumined by the sun or the moon or some other source of light, it cannot be seen by you. And so therefore, just as there is a connection between the objects being seen and the presence of light, when there is no light, there are no objects. You don't have the ability to see the objects. Similarly, without vichara and without all these sadhanas, you can kiss goodbye to this knowledge. Whether you kiss goodbye to this knowledge or not, it's time to come to say goodbye to this class. Okay, more we'll see next week. This weekend we have both Bodhisara and Mundaka. Bodhisara, we are starting a new section, Niranjana Panchashatkam, which is the 50 verses on the Atma. Very nice. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Take care. All the best.